Willow Creek Estates was the kind of gated community, where every lawn was the exact same shade of emerald and every mailbox cost more than most people's rent. Evelyn Hargrove ruled it like a medieval queen, at 58 with a platinum blonde, bob that never moved in the wind, and a clipboard that might as well have been a scepter. She was the undisputed president of the HOA. Neighbors called her the general behind her back. To her face, they called her Mrs. Hargrove and smiled through gritted teeth. That Saturday in early June started like any other. Evelyn was on her morning patrol in her white golf cart, hunting for violations. A trash bin left out 12 minutes too long, a basketball hoop that dared exist, an American flag slightly larger than the bylaws allowed. She wore her signature pastel cardigan despite the heat and a whistle around her neck. For emergencies. At 9:17 a.m., the screaming started. It came from the far end of Sycamore Circle. Near the community pool, no one was allowed to use without filing. Form 12B in triplicate. Evelyn floored the golf cart. When she arrived, a small crowd had already gathered on Tom Delaney's front lawn. Tom, 72, retired firefighter, was flat on his back, clutching his chest. His wife, Linda, was on the phone with 911, sobbing. Their neighbor, Marcus Ruiz, a 34-year-old paramedic, on his day off, was already doing chest compressions, sweat pouring down his face. "Keep going, Marcus," someone yelled. Evelyn leapt from the cart like a woman half her age. "Stop!" she shrieked, voice cutting through the morning like a fire alarm. "Stop that immediately!" Marcus didn't even look up. His hands kept the rhythm, 1 and 2 and 3 and... "I said stop!" Evelyn charged forward, actually trying to shove Marcus away. "You're on HOA common area grass. This is unauthorized physical activity. You're destroying the turf." The crowd went silent except for the wet, terrible sound of compressions and Linda's broken pleas. "You could give him COVID," Evelyn screeched, "or crack a rib and sue the association. Cease this at once or I'll have you arrested for vandalism." Marcus finally looked up, eyes wild. "Lady, he's dying." "Then he can die on his own property," Evelyn snapped, pointing at the invisible line where Tom's lawn met the sidewalk. "Rules are rules." Someone in the crowd started filming. Tom's face was turning blue. By noon, the clip was everywhere. It started on the neighborhood Facebook group, posted anonymously, of course, then rocketed to Twitter, TikTok, Reddit. 47 seconds of pure nightmare fuel. A dying elderly man on the grass, a paramedic desperately performing CPR, and a manicured woman in a lavender cardigan screaming about turf damage while trying to physically pull the rescuer away. The caption read, HOA Karen tells paramedic to stop CPR because it's ruining the grass. Willow Creek Estates, Teeks. Within 3 hours, HOA Karen was trending nationwide. Within 6, it was global. News vans arrived before the ambulance left. Tom Delaney was loaded onto a stretcher, still unconscious. Marcus Ruiz, hands trembling and streaked with blood from a cracked rib, gave a short statement to the first reporter who shoved a microphone in his face. "I've been a paramedic for 12 years, he said, voice raw. "I've never seen anything like that in my life." Evelyn Hargrove, meanwhile, had retreated to her McMansion at the top of the hill. She locked the doors, closed the plantation shutters, and called an emergency meeting of the HOA board, all 3 of whom were her bridge partners. "We need to get ahead of this," she hissed into the phone. "Spin it. Say the man was already dead. Say the paramedic was aggressive. Say anything." But the board members had seen the video. 2 of them hung up without a word. By 8 p.m., Evelyn's name, address, phone number, and the fact that she'd once fined a disabled veteran $500 for a ramp that was aesthetically displeasing were circulating on every platform. Her Yelp page for Evelyn's interior accents, a side business, was review-bombed into oblivion. Someone superimposed her face onto Cersei Lannister doing the walk of shame. At 10:42 p.m., the Willow Creek Estates Facebook page, which she moderated, was taken down for community safety. Someone had posted Tom Delaney's obituary photo with the caption, "He died because Karen cared more about grass than a human life." Tom was still alive, barely, in ICU on a ventilator. The doctors said the delay caused by the interruption had cost precious minutes. Brain damage was likely. The internet wanted blood, and it knew exactly where to find it. Evelyn turned off her phone, poured a large Chardonnay, and told herself it would blow over by morning. It didn't. Monday morning, Evelyn woke to the sound of helicopters. 3 news choppers circled Willow Creek Estates like vultures. A crowd of 200 people, some neighbors, most strangers, stood at the gate holding signs. "Grass over lives?" Evelyn Hargrove is a murderer. Someone had mowed "Let Tom Live" into the golf course fairway overnight. The HOA board served her removal papers by 8 a.m., hand-delivered by armed security because no one else would come near her house. She was stripped of her presidency effective immediately. The new interim president, a quiet accountant named Mei Chen, issued a public apology and announced the association would pay all of Tom Delaney's medical bills, no matter the cost. At 10:17 a.m., the police arrived. They didn't knock. They rang the doorbell 17 times, then used a battering ram when she refused to answer. Evelyn was dragged out in handcuffs, still wearing her silk robe and curlers, screaming about illegal entry and false imprisonment. The officer read her rights, while 1,000 phones live-streamed. Charge, criminally negligent homicide if Tom died, or, at minimum, interference with emergency medical care and reckless endangerment. By the time she reached the station, GoFundMe pages for Tom and Linda Delaney had raised $1.4 million. Another fundraiser titled Repaint Evelyn's House Rainbow raised $87,000 in 6 hours. A drone delivered a banner over her roof that read, "We hope the grass was worth it." Her mugshot, mascara-streaked, mouth open mid-snarl, became the new disappointed cricket fan. Memes flooded every platform. Late-night hosts opened with monologues about her. One comedian offered to pay her bail if she agreed to be waterboarded, with lawn fertilizer on live TV. Inside the county jail, the other inmates recognized her instantly. Someone had printed the video still and taped it to the common area. TV with the caption, "New girl tried to kill. Grandpa for Kentucky Bluegrass." Her bond was set at $250,000. No one came forward to pay it. At 11:59 p.m., Tom Delaney flatlined for the 3rd time that day. The doctors brought him back, but the prognosis was grim. His heart was failing. The prosecutor upgraded the charge to manslaughter. Evelyn Hargrove, the woman who once ruled a suburb with color swatches and fines, now sat alone in a holding cell wearing an orange jumpsuit 2 sizes too big, listening to the entire block chant, "Grass! Grass! Grass!" every time the guards walked past. 9 months later, the courtroom was packed. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but every seat was taken by victims of Evelyn's past fines, reporters, and half the Willow Creek neighborhood wearing Team Tom shirts. Tom Delaney sat in a wheelchair near the front, breathing through a tube, unable to speak. Linda held his hand the entire time. Evelyn, now 60, looked like a different woman. The platinum bob was gray at the roots, the designer suits replaced by a shapeless navy dress chosen by her public defender. She had taken a plea. Manslaughter, 10 years, no parole for 7. But the judge wasn't finished. The Honorable Maria Delgado, a woman whose own father had died waiting for an ambulance during an HOA dispute in another county, leaned forward. "Mrs. Hargrove," she said, voice steady, "you valued sod over a human soul. You weaponized petty rules to terrorize your neighbors for years. This court has received over 4,000 letters, many detailing fines you levied on cancer patients for holiday lights, on widows for unapproved flowers, on children for chalk drawings. You turned a community into a prison." She paused, letting the silence crush the room. 10 years is the plea, but I am adding something Texas law allows in cases of extreme public harm. The judge ordered Evelyn Hargrove to pay $2.1 million in restitution to the Delaney family, every cent from the sale of her house, her business, her cars, her jewelry. Then came the part that made grown reporters gasp. For the entire duration of your incarceration, you will be required to tend the prison's community garden, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. You will grow vegetables that will be donated to homeless shelters. You will do it on your knees in the dirt, under the sun you once tried to regulate. And every single day, the garden supervisor will play at full volume the 47-second video of you screaming at a dying man, so you never forget whose life you measured against blades of grass. Evelyn collapsed, sobbing. The gavel fell. Outside, the crowd erupted. Someone started mowing justice into the courthouse lawn. The clip of the sentence went more viral than the original video. Tom Delaney died peacefully 3 weeks later, surrounded by family. His last act was to sign papers donating the entire $2.1 million to create free CPR training centers across the state. They named the first one the Tom Delaney Heart Garden. Evelyn still works in the prison dirt every morning. Inmates say she never speaks anymore.